humidity, wind, and storms can take a toll on your home. When they do, trust the team at Absolute Restoration for roofing, water damage, and mold remediation. 662-760-4348.
Buy it room to room and get a vacation for two. Qualifying purchases take home a trip to Las Vegas or Orlando, or get a 5-night cruise, plus 50% off furniture and mattresses and 5 years special financing only at Room to Room Tupelo. Happy birthday, America.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 9.
Good evening and welcome in here to Mississippi Live Weather at 9. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynard taking a look at that forecast as we wrap up what has been a pretty fantastic summer day, but head into what should be a more active Wednesday. As of right now, the Storm Prediction Center putting out that level 1 threat, showing some limited potential at a few strong thunderstorms, and with that comes a few strong wind gusts as well. This is what we'll go over here in just a moment, looking at the latest version of our Futurecast, but this is a tale of multiple stories as we go through the entire 7-day stretch. So starting with strong storms that are possible on our Wednesday, but as we look into the future a little bit, heavy rainfall also possible for some with this threat. So it's not just the strong weather we're talking about, also some of the strong output of rainfall. But then the pattern shifts. And into this weekend, we're saying get the air conditioner ready. And even that might not be enough, as the air conditioner might be falling a little bit behind to catch up with this heat. We'll look at that entire hot forecast ahead in just a moment as well. But let's focus on the storms heading into our Wednesday. Overnight, we're not expecting much action, but into the early hours, not impossible to see a few pop-up showers right there in northwest Mississippi. And that's where we could start to see some brief heavy downpours, but overall the severe weather threat moving in further into the afternoon. And again, we'll time that out county by county in just a moment. So breaking down those threats, main thing we're watching for is some strong gusts out of the system and out of those individual storms. Also, with a few of these storms, and we'll talk about this again in just a moment, but the collapsing storms, the typical summer-like pattern where some of these storms just kind of build up in strength and then collapse in on themselves. That's where we get some of those strong downbursts, and that's where we could see some damage come from those as well. And we're also talking about some localized heavy rainfall resulting in some flash flooding. That's actually the highest confidence that we're sitting at as we enter into that Wednesday stretch. We'll look at that full Weather Prediction Center breakdown in just a moment. But severe weather risk in parts of I-55 and looking out west into the Delta. This is where those storms will start to move in from the north and west and bring with it some heavy rainfall, thus the level 2 threat for flash flooding, but also the threat for some gustier winds. As we look at rainfall totals, comparing what we had today to what we'll get tomorrow with that flash flooding threat, I told you guys not really a need to worry about anything here in North Mississippi. That boundary setting up earlier this morning, and that was down there towards Yazoo County, working its way through parts of Jones County and Smith County, but that's really south of our viewing area. And for our Max South viewers, that band working up there towards Oklahoma City and northeast Texas, that's going to be where the stationary front sat today. By tomorrow, moving a little bit more north, and that's where we're going to get some of those storms in our area. As we look specifically at those storms, you can see how those are riding that frontal boundary and eventually going to follow the leader all the way to North Mississippi and bring with it some strong storms as well. Now, are we expecting a watch? Are we expecting warnings tomorrow? In all honesty, I might see a couple possible, but I'm not expecting an outbreak like what they've had out there with those severe thunderstorms in place. And I'm talking about severe thunderstorm outbreak, not a tornado outbreak by any means. We're not expecting tornadoes with this setup, and they've not gotten tornadoes out there in the west so far today, and hopeful that that's not the case, but some strong storms are definitely possible, and we're seeing that over there towards the Texarkana area and extending into parts east of there, right along that stationary front. On the wider scale, you can see that frontal boundary all the way from northern Texas into the Atlantic coast and bring with it some heavy downpours, some scattered thunderstorms, but here in Mississippi and Alabama, overall pretty calm. So heading overnight, expect those calm conditions to remain in place, but we are going to see that threat move in further into our Wednesday. Now, latest version of our HRRR model, you can see where that frontal boundary lingers and will allow those storms to build in overnight, but not really moving into our area until the pre-dawn hours of our Wednesday, 5, 6 o'clock. You're seeing Greenville over there towards Rolling Fork and parts of Humphreys County showing up there as well. This is where the initial showers are going to be, but a large part of that further towards our south and west, and especially the heaviest portions you can see closer to Jackson, Meridian, and all the way out there towards Shreveport, looking like an entirely different environment. But this is just the start of the day And with that frontal boundary still lingering overhead, additional chances are possible to build in by the afternoon. And with that, a few heavy downpours and rumbles of thunder then as well. So the next 24, we're limited on coverage to those early morning hours, and a large part of the moisture going to be in the form of patchy fog. That's going to be a reason to put on those low beams, but as we get into the afternoon, those scattered thunderstorms do build in a little bit more, and with that comes some gustier winds, and with that comes some localized heavy rainfall. Those are the two threats we're going to be watching in much more detail as we track Futurecast out throughout the entirety of your Wednesday and look ahead to what is a toasty weekend ahead. Got any weekend plans? We'll be tracking the latest for you right here from the Room to Room Weather Center's Mississippi Live Weather at 9 continues right after this.
At Vibe Aesthetics and Wellness, we believe confidence isn't just how you look, it's how you feel. From subtle, natural aesthetics to personalized wellness care, everything we do is intentional. This is beauty with purpose. At Vibe Men's Health, we take that same approach. We focus on what matters most: strength, energy, and performance. Built on real data, real medicine, and real results, we're here to help you look better, feel stronger, and live fully. Come vibe with us today.
Hate is loud, but love is the majority.
I'm your retirement fear, but don't be scared. You're still in pre-tirement.
Does that mean I have more time to plan?
Precisely. This is pretirement.org.
This isn't scary. I'm doing it.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
You know, I walked outside this afternoon and had to do a double take because it felt so great outside. It almost felt like a spring or fall-like day. It is still summer and we're in those early summer days. And as we get into the weekend, you're definitely going to be feeling like summer here in Mississippi. Thank you for keeping it here at Mississippi Live Weather. What we're looking at over this 7-day stretch is the toasty weekend. We'll get to that in just a moment. But we're also looking at storms possible Wednesday and even into parts of our Thursday as those chances dissipate out. But nonetheless, it's a tale of two forecast, and the first story starts tomorrow. That severe weather threat in place for parts of I-55 and out west. That's only a level 1 threat, so we're not expecting a ton of action here in North Mississippi. But there is still that limited potential at a strong storm or two as this moves on through. This a result of that northwesterly flow, so developing out here towards Oklahoma, Kansas, and Colorado and Texas, but following this line right here, following that level 1 threat all the way here into North Mississippi, and that's where we could hear a few rumbles, but also see some impacts with those strong winds. I told you guys, no tornadoes out of this for North Mississippi, and you can see that with that level 1 threat well out there towards Denver, Wyoming, and Nebraska. I mean, who would have thought traveling well out there towards the, Mountain West out there in Denver and Wyoming, that's going to be a higher likelihood to see a tornado compared to what we have here in North Mississippi. So that's a positive for us. Not exactly a positive for others. We never want to see tornadoes, but at least we're not tracking that for North Mississippi. Same thing with large hail. You know, hail almost complemented with that tornado threat, and that's why it's for those same locations. In fact, a level 2 threat in those locations where they're sitting under a limited tornado threat. But here in North Mississippi, again, not tracking that. When we bring in the strong wind or the potential damaging wind, that's when North Mississippi is built into that level 1 threat. And that's what we're tracking, getting more into our Wednesday. Specifically for us are going to be winds up to 60 miles an hour. And with the locations included in this level 1 threat, impacts from the ice storm going to be felt once again, dropping a few of those limbs with some subsevere gust. And that can be impactful in its own right. Trust me, I know. Broke a windshield with the limb in a subsevere gust. So that can definitely happen, and you definitely need to be prepared tonight. I guess it's a little bit later in the night, but if you want to clear some of those limbs, it might be worth your while before those storms do build into our Wednesday. Mama Justice Doppler radar tracking calm conditions for now, but eventually those storms do move in place. A beautiful night in Iuka, and I wanted to showcase this camera because this is one of the areas that could be dropping into the low to mid 60s to start our Wednesday. Yes, you are hearing that correctly. Going to feel like a cool, almost early fall-like day tomorrow. Not going to last for long, so soak it in while you can because we're still in the early days of summer, but shows how unique this forecast is and how it's one that's definitely worth our while. 76 degrees Clarksdale, so a little bit more of a saturated environment out there. Dew points also indicating a little bit more moisture sitting at 76 degrees, so that's an area where we could be watching some patchy fog. That's an area where we'll see those storms build in first as they come into North Mississippi. And out in Rolling Fork, getting a good bit of moisture there as well. We're 78 on those temperatures, 75 on the dew points. Winds coming out of the northeast at about 3 miles an hour, but winds in any direction really going to be a big factor for us overnight, as that will keep our fog potential low, where it's calm. And you see on our day planner that a large part of North Mississippi is going to be dealing with little to no wind. That's going to be where we get some patchy fog here in North Mississippi. By 11 p.m., we're 70 degrees, 67 by 2, and 66 towards the early hours of our Wednesday. So feeling fantastic for this time of year in all consideration. So stationary front overnight, that's going to keep those rain chances around, but that's going to be further out west, working its way along the boundary, almost following the train tracks here to North Mississippi, and going to allow those additional chances getting early into our Wednesday. But with the latest version of our HRRR run, you can see well off there towards our south and west county. So we're talking Washington and Humphreys County for Greenville, Hollandale, and Belzona. That's by 6 a.m. Wednesday. So if you're not in those locations, then you're looking like a mostly dry forecast. A sprinkle or two, not impossible. We see that out there towards Tunica County, but overall coverage pretty limited outside of that southwest quadrant for our viewing area here in North Mississippi. 65 Houston and Bruce. Fantastic starting temperature for late June. 62 Boonville, Corinth, and Iuka. 71 though Belzona and Greenville. So you kind of see a tale of two forecast in the start of our Wednesday, with moisture driving those temperatures and keeping it pretty cool up there in the far northeast portions of Mississippi. 70 degrees by 8. We're 80 by noon and 84 by 3. And with that comes some rain chances. So if you're looking to head to the pool, well, early in the morning will be your best chances, because by the afternoon, that scatter development starts to build into North Mississippi. I say it every night. 9 o'clock is one of my favorite shows. Of course, I'm biased, but it's one of my favorite shows because we get the latest model run coming in, and we get to see that together and see the differences. So we saw what Matt was showing at 5 and 6. Now let's assess what we're getting on our Wednesday, especially into our Wednesday afternoon. I mean, clearly see that stationary front overhead, and that's going to allow some development by 3 p.m. And this is going to be very sporadic development. So don't look at Louisville and say, oh, it's all concentrated there. No, we could see this develop anywhere along this boundary, but it does at least show the potential that some of these are going to get going, and we're going to reach that convective temperature that really gets these to fire off along that lifting mechanism in this stationary front. Some of those on the heftier side, we see those reds showing up, and that's what we're watching for any of those strong storms possible. Hollandale, seeing that out towards you, making a little bit earlier on, and even towards Pickens County, a few popping up. This is by 5 and 6 o'clock on your Wednesday evening. So church plans may need the umbrella if you're down there south of the Golden Triangle and really south of Highway 82 as those storms do move in. So the severe weather threat, take it with a grain of salt once again. I told you that last night whenever it was covering just parts of 61 from Cleveland to Tunica. Now covering an even larger area, but I still think there's a lot of questions in regards to where these storms do line up, because every single model run has been different on the focus. That being said, out towards Humphreys, Washington, and Holmes County, that's where we're seeing some increased threats for rainfall, flash flooding, and some of those strong storms possible. That's because we have that morning threat moving in, and that's been pretty consistent out there towards southwest part of our viewing area. But as we head towards the afternoon, I wouldn't be shocked at all to get some of those storms out here. Golden Triangle, Macon, Louisville, Ackerman, Kosciuszko, Winona, those locations included, some of those included in the level 1 risk, others not. So take it with a grain of salt. Just understand that severe storms are possible, but we're not expecting a ton of output. And the fact that we're still asking questions is a very good thing getting into our Wednesday forecast. So we'll definitely welcome that wholeheartedly. But flash flooding threat, that is still possible. I think the level 2 threat is a little bit overdone in regards to the coverage that it's doing. But I think this also shows the questions that are still in place in regards to the positioning. Otherwise, this would be much more fine-tuned, but covering the entire viewing area at least shows some spots are possible to see that flash flooding threat take place, and it really depends on where those boundaries develop and really where that morning threat moves in. So I would say Belzona, Greenville, those are the areas that I'm watching for any of the flash flooding potential. That would be where I would say it's a 2+. Level 2+ on that threat, because that's really the focused area that I'm watching for, including parts of our Mac South area, south of our viewing area, our regular viewing area here in North Mississippi. So watching for that, but still limited potential for the rest of our coverage area. High temperatures, 86 Tupelo, 85 Iuka and Corinth, 83 Cleveland and Tunica. So it's still going to be a fantastic Wednesday temperature-wise, even if we do have to mix in a few showers, because our temperatures are not overwhelming at all. Even the heat indices right around that same margin. So this is a pretty dry feeling atmosphere. Not going to be that typical Mississippi mugginess. Not yet. And we'll get into that in just a moment. as we look at our Wednesday night, this is where additional development is going to be moving overhead. And this is where I believe that severe weather risk is in place for. You can see by midnight, those starting to move into Cleveland and Shelby, and those having some darker returns, darker DBZs. That's what we used a lot yesterday in regards to how we were talking. This is basically a part of our legend up there that shows the color, which is the output of rainfall. And where it shows the reds and blacks, that's going to be the heavier output, resulting in, potentially some flash flooding. But there's also going to be areas where they may have some higher storm tops, showing mature storms, and unfortunately showing some strong storms. So by midnight, we're going to be tracking that out by out there towards Cleveland and Shelby, and those working their way towards Hollandale, Greenville, and even out there towards Belzona. So again, that same focal point, that same area out there towards the southwest part of our coverage area here in North Mississippi, that's going to be one we're watching for because it's rainfall in the morning, some potential showers during the afternoon, and building into the overnight hours. So it's going to be a lot of rainfall in a short time frame that could unfortunately result in some flash flooding threats out there towards Belzona, Chula, and Hollandale. But still, the positioning on this, something that will be fine-tuned getting into the start of our Wednesday morning. Now, by the time that clears out, 1, 2 o'clock on your Thursday morning, I guess Wednesday night, Thursday morning, then we'll be in a much calmer atmosphere and calmer coming at a cost because it is going to be toasty. Our Thursday starts out in the upper 60s. Not too bad. Even a few low 70s, we can handle that. But it's beyond that Thursday morning forecast that we'll see things start to shift. A few rain chances are possible as those showers do work out of the area, but overall coverage coming down from what we're seeing on Wednesday. There's a look, a pop-up shower, pop-up thunderstorm, it's definitely not impossible, but the coverage much more diminished from what we're getting on Wednesday. And this is a result of that frontal boundary working its way out, and it will basically see more miss than hit when we're talking rain chances. With it being a drier pattern, those temperatures are already taking advantage of that drier environment. We're going to be 91 Houston and Amory, 91 Greenwood and Belzona, 92 trying to show up in Greenville, and even in areas that we're feeling a little bit cooler, we're now seeing 88 Corinth, 87 Boonville and Iuka, and 86 in Red Bay. But here's where it really starts to shift. We're bringing back that mugginess, and that's where we're going to up those heat indices into the triple digits, including 102 towards Belzona, 101 Greenville. So that's really going to be a difference in regards to how it feels, because today felt fantastic, but that was because it was a little bit drier out in the atmosphere. Once we bring back that moisture and once we bring back that heat, then we're looking at a pretty dangerous stretch through the weekend due to the heat. Now, Friday, we do have some limited chances, again, as these rain chances just try to clear on out. And beyond that morning threat, we're looking much drier into the afternoon, and that's going to be a welcome sight here in North Mississippi. Unfortunately, that's going to be paired with some heat. And we'll look at those temperatures here in just a moment, but you can see that it's going to be a much drier environment. Those southerly winds, at least trying to bring back some moisture. So sprinkles not impossible, but I think this is really overdoing those rain chances even into our Saturday and into the start of our weekend. So with that drier environment, with that southerly wind, this is where we're talking heat advisories possible and some dangerous heat here in North Mississippi that we need to make sure we're staying hydrated for and staying in the air conditioner a little bit more than usual. So with those rain chances coming down, those temperatures are coming up, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, looking fantastic as long as you're looking through a window, because we will be dealing with some extreme heat. The hottest temperatures we've seen so far this year in some spots. So as we see that temperature trend, of course, you've seen the rain chances, 40% Wednesday, 30% Thursday, drier by the weekend, but Wednesday, 84, Thursday, 88, Friday, 91, by Sunday, 94. By early parts of next week, we're talking 95, 96 degrees. Now, this will be a little bit of a drier heat, so at least that's a welcome sight. So we're not talking extreme heat warnings. But I do believe some excessive heat advisories are still in effect probably through Friday, all the way through early parts of next week, if not continuing beyond that point as we go beyond that 7-day stretch. So, summer, right? I mean, you can't say it's a surprise here in North Mississippi. So that's really the tale of two forecasts that we're dealing with. Let's get through the storms tomorrow, and then we'll be able to fully break down that heat as we approach the weekend. I'm going to bring up the chat real quick. I appreciate every one of you guys watching. Every one of you guys watching and tuning in from across North Mississippi. I do see that question, Gabe, on some of your guys' streams. There's a countdown to 1st of August. Why? So 1st of August, we just feel like August is the start of the school year. You know, it just gives that school vibe. So we are not going to have everyone's specific start date on our pool day forecast, but we feel like on August 1st countdown is a good general time frame of when you need to be back in that school mindset if you're not back in school already. So we're keeping it with August 1st, and I know our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut will say it's for a different reason. His birthday is on August 1st. So if you don't think of it as the start of the school year, think of it as the countdown to Caleb's birthday. Either one works with us, but that's really what it's for, Jason. Good question down in the chat. But yeah, that's our pool day forecast, and you know, once summer ends and school starts, that's August 1st, a good time frame. I don't know. That's just me. So appreciate all of you guys watching, and just make sure to stay safe, make sure to stay alert, and we're going to continue to track that out as we get further into the rest of our work week and really into the weekend as well. So as we look ahead, we're going to be looking ahead on the Mississippi Live Weather app. That's where all of the data is there for you to look at, take advantage of, and learn about what's ahead here in North Mississippi when it comes to the forecast. If you're on our socials, like, subscribe, and follow as we post those updates on our socials as they become available, and we'll keep you guys posted on what to expect here in North Mississippi, even include a few things from outside of North Mississippi as well. Our next broadcast at 10 o'clock tonight, we're going to break down those chances in much more detail, even talk about the severe weather potential once again, breaking that down. But you'll really want to tune in 6:37 and 7:30 right here to the Room to Room Weather Center as our meteorologist Maggie McCauley looks at the latest model runs and how that could pan out for our Wednesday with strong storms possible. She'll have that full breakdown bright and early on your Wednesday, so tune in there for the very latest, but make sure to tune in at 10 as we break that down. I promise not to keep you guys long, but keep you guys informed. That's what I can guarantee at the 10 o'clock hour. We'll see you right back here in the Room to Room Weather Center for Mississippi Live Weather at 10.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.